Neng.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise in support of the electric vehicles or EV charging bill. Before I proceed, I would like to declare my interest as the president of Strides Mobility Services of SMRT, which has business unit that rent out electric vehicles and provides EV chargers. I have previously spoken during the COS debate about how is it important to have enough or sufficient charging stations at the HDB estate, the private estate, and the commercial buildings. This is in order for the EVs to take off. I'm glad to note that the EV charging bill has considered some of my recommendations. With the EV charging bill that mandates private buildings to provide charging points and the recent LTA tender to install 12,000 EV charging points across 2,000 HDB car parks, Singapore will be transformed from a city with few charging points to the country with probably the highest numbers of charging points per capita. This is a strategic and timely move by MOT and LTA. To realize our vision, we will need to consider ways to achieve fairness, a better affordability, and confidence for our EV users. I would like to first touch on the affordability of EVs. The life cycle cost of owning an EV as compared to owning internal combustion engine electric vehicles is much higher. In other words, owning an EV over the lifespan is higher than owning ICE vehicles in Singapore currently. So will the majority of the car buyers in Singapore buy EV just because they are pro-environment or they think the EVs are greener? This may not be so, as consumers are very, very practical and financially savvy. Even the greener conscious residents in the Nordic country, they are also behaving similarly as being cost conscious. I would like to take Norway as an example. Norway currently has the highest rate of EV ownership in the world. Most number of EV owners in Norway compared to other countries. And yet only 26% of the car buyers in Norway buy EV because they are environmental conscious. In fact, about 72% of the car buyers confess that they buy EV because of financial considerations, according to the survey conducted by the Norwegian Electric Vehicle Association. EV drivers in Norway get to use toll roads for free, enjoy free parking, and are exempted from Norway high purchase taxes. We may not take the same route, but some incentives do help to promote EV. And currently, the EV buyers in Singapore enjoy some tax rebates and incentives. But is this enough? But we need to do more to give this a stronger push. And I think we should. So when LTA signals the intention to install EV chargers in all HDB car parks, mass market EV adoptions is key to the frequent utilization of the chargers. To encourage mass market adoptions, I also would suggest that we perhaps give a discount for Cat A COE prices for those EV buyers. And I suggest that this can be part of the early adopter scheme. And I would suggest to have 10% discount on the Cat A COE. Why only Cat A? Because the Cat A COE are catered to buyers who are more cost conscious, and more likely the Cat A COE cars fly the road longer than others category. So by converting them to EVs, can have a greater impact in reducing the carbon dioxide emission. But we got to be careful about this instead of creating a separate EV category as what's suggested by Professor Chambers, because those who are able to pay for the higher value of EV, we should not subsidize them. And although this eye-catching CO discount early EV adopter scheme can be removed once the critical mass of EV is on the route, or when the prices of EV have fallen significantly, as predicted by industry experts, that will happen in a couple of years' time. I would also like to clarify with Professor Jaspers. He said the report said that operating the PHC or taxi equivalent, the cost is 82% higher. I really doubt this is so, because in my experience of renting up the electric vehicles, the cost of owning and operating electric vehicles is cheaper as compared to a hybrid or diesel vehicle because of the high mileage incurred by the PHC or taxi. But the reason why the PHC drivers and the taxi drivers are reluctant to switch to an EV is because of the charging facilities right now. And therefore, I would like to say that the installation of the EV charging points in all HDB car parks as part of the government plan to deploy 60,000 charging points by 2030 will reduce the range anxiety and provide convenience of charging EVs. At the same time, it is important to cultivate a good EV charging culture to deter hogging of charging points when the EV is fully charged. But we also do not want to go to an extent where you will also charge an idling fee when the EV is fully charged at 4 a.m. in the morning. So there's a balance of how we want to use the idling charge to encourage a good behavior of charging. And meanwhile, I understand from the industry players that there are teething issues relating to the installation of EV chargers and the use of EV chargers in the HDB car park, which I hope the government agency can help to resolve. Firstly, I understand that the first batch of EV charging operators that were awarded to install the charging points at HDB car park face difficulties coordinating with various agencies for clearance, just for clearance, to install the chargers. I would like to urge the government agency, especially led by MOT and LTA, to help eliminate any possible red tape so that the EV chargers can be deployed swiftly in the second tender to install the 12,000 EV chargers. This will lead to faster transition of ICE vehicles into an EV fleet across our car population. And secondly, many users of the commercial EV vehicles find it difficult to park at HDB car park, especially at the multi-story car park, because of the weight of the electric vehicles, which is much higher than the ICE vehicles. Instead of HDB now, they reply in the forum page that they will assess and grant approval on a case-by-case basis to allow vehicles to park at multi-story car park, allow electric vehicles, especially electric vehicles or commercial vehicles, to park at the multi-story car park. I hope that LTA and HDB can do a systemic review to facilitate parking of electric commercial vehicles at HDB car parks, which will eventually have the EV charging facilities. This will better optimize the use of electric chargers by a range of vehicles and not just the private electric vehicles. And thirdly, we understand the rollout of EV chargers at HDB car park is a gradual process. Currently, only about 200 HDB car parks are installed with EV chargers, and some of the EV users staying at the precincts beside the existing car park with the EV chargers have to pay parking fee while they charge the EV overnight. Thus, I hope LTA can work with HDB to consider making an arrangement to allow EV users staying adjacent to the car park with EV chargers to park free while charging their EVs. This is a transition period, but it would be good if the agency can assist until all HDB car parks are installed with EV chargers. Under the new HDB EV charging contracts awarded by LTA, I understand different operators will have different EV charging rate at different HDB car parks due to the different concession fees that they will pay to LTA. I urge LTA to closely monitor the charging fees over time to ensure fairness and affordability. At the same time, we would like to avoid the situation where, as what Mr. has said, the EV user have to pay a higher charging fee should any of the charging operator exceed the market. And to install EV chargers, only licensed electric workers or LEWs can do so. As of end June 2022, we know there are 4,000 LEWs in Singapore. However, many of the LEWs are already engaged in other jobs due to the opening of the economy, in tandem with the easing of COVID-19 pandemic restrictive measures. Moreover, we also need LEWs to maintain the 600,000 60,000 EV chargers in time to come. Thus, I would like to ask Minister, as what the chairman of GPE has said, whether LTA will work with the industry to generate more trained LEWs to sustain the momentum of installing EV chargers in large number. And in particular, will MOT and LTA be working with polytechnics and ITE to train more Singaporeans to be LEWs? According to the global survey, the number of consumers looking to buy EVs globally has hit 52%. And it represents a 22% rise in just 2 years. At the same time, there are also growing concerns of EV catching fire. In the last 2 years, I also have 2 fire incidents in HDB flat in Neng constituency that involve battery charging of electric personal mobility devices. There were casualties from these 2 incidents, including 1 death, unfortunately. So likewise, the safety of EV cannot be overlooked. In China, apparently, there were 680 EV fires in the first quarter of this year, 2022 alone. 680 EV fires in 1 quarter. That translates to 7 EV fires a day. At the same time, there are also reports indicating that the EVs are safer than ICE vehicles. Hence, I would like to ask the ministers on a key lesson which MOT and LTA have gleaned on the safety of EV and EV charging. We are in the midst of going through an exciting transformation in the transport sector as part of a quest towards Singapore Green Plan 2030. The EV charging bill has a potential to turbocharge our transition from the ICE age to the new EV era. But we cannot overlook the transition issue that's highlighted above, and hope the minister can address them. And we recognize the best way to travel around Singapore is by train or by MRT. And please take the train as often as possible. But if you need to drive, consider EV. Well, before I end, I would like to ask Professor James Lim that he was suggesting that after some years, we will not allow the registration of any non-EV vehicles. So I would like to ask, which year is he anticipating that will come? Yeah, notwithstanding above, I support the bill. Thank you.
So, Professor James Lim.
Thank you, Speaker. So if I may clarify 2 points. The first has to do with that report. So it's now been raised both by the member as well as Mr. Iswaran. The quote was originally by the Grab Group Vice President for Marketing and Sustainability, Cheryl Goh. She had made this statement in a conference, and it was reported not just in my original source, but also in the Straits Times. And the specific quote is that the total cost of owning an EV remains 82% higher than an equivalent internal combustion engine vehicle. So that's the first clarification. The second clarification is, my understanding of the government's position is that the Green Plan states that they will stop issuing ICE COE permits after 2030. So based on that assumption, my guess is that the complete phase-out of the ICE fleet would occur by around 2040. That is the government. I believe that's my estimation of the government's target. So my alternative suggestion would have pushed it back by just 2 years, but it would actually get a small number, an increasing number of EV vehicles on the road in the interim.